Daggers, 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 daggers. They're so nice. They're like a sword, but they're easier to make. And while adventuring in this little indie game called Skyrim, I noticed this cool design for a dagger called the Orcish Dagger. Now, I thought this design was really cool, especially the cool color of the metal, which I think I can achieve by gunmetaling it, which you will see later. Now, by the end of this video, if you're wondering why it looks a little different, I may have taken some creative liberties and never looked at reference material once. Anyway, let's get right into it. First things first, I had to cut out the basic shape of the knife from this big old piece of spring steel. Trust me, that is how you use a cut-off wheel. Next, I had to cut the groove out of the piece of wood I was going to be using for the handle, so it would actually fit and I wasn't holding a big old rod made of pure tetanus. Next, I had to use the woodworker's classic technique of just spreading glue with my finger to get the two pieces together. After that, using my mighty strength, I squeezed it a little smaller so it would better fit my hands. Next up, using a router bit in its intended fashion, I gave it some nice bevels on the side so it's nice and smooth and it wouldn't cut my hand more than I'm trying to cut things with the knife. Look at that beautiful fit. Ooh. Now that I have the basic knife shape and the handle, I've got to cut out a piece of metal, with a metal blade, of course. Next up, I used a screwdriver for its intended purpose of being used as a hole punch. Don't pretend like you don't do it too. Now, surprise, this random piece of metal is eventually going to be a cool looking guard. Right now it's just a random piece of metal, but it's a random piece of metal that fits. Now that it fits, I just have to smash it into a better looking handle shape. Next up, it's time to work on the pommel, or the end of the knife. So I'm going to take this circle and squish it into an oval. Very good. Now that I've got a cool oval, I'm going to add a little guard with a snap. This guard will line up with the previous guard that I'm going to put on the top, and it slides perfectly on the handle. Now that I've got a little test fit, I can give it a quick sand, make it a little prettier. Now that the blade is the final shape that I wanted, I can give it a quick heat treat. Not sure why bladesmiths take so long on this step. It was definitely super easy and quick. Gave it a quick cleaning. Now that it's all nice and clean, I added a pinhole that I can eventually put a pin through the handle so the knife doesn't fly off and become a projectile. Now here are the gems that I'm going to be putting onto this knife. I actually made them myself, but that's a much longer and more boring video to explain how that was done. So I added it to the top guard. A little bit of adhesive, looking good. I could then add it to my bottom guard to have a matching set. Now that most of the metal work was done, I could feel safe to actually finish this wooden handle with a little bit of polyurethane. Always, polyurethane's super easy. You just touch it and it's instantly polyurethaned and shiny and beautiful. Now, I did record a cheeky little transition for this, but I thought I'd actually show it because it looks like magic and is super cool. Now, these are gunmetaling or bluing chemicals that, as you can guess from the name, is the chemicals that they use to blue guns that gives it that bluish, blackish sheen. And man, it just looks beautiful. Now I chose this because it kind of gives the sort of magic look, and as well as making it not rust, because I really love making a project beautiful and shiny and then putting it in my barn and coming out a month later to see that it is a rusted mess. So now I can just snap together all the pieces for this dagger. It's super easy like. As you can see, I also added the pin in the middle so that everything will stay together, as well as copious amounts of glue that you can't see all in the handle. Now it's time for everyone's favorite part, where I calmly prepare myself a delicious fruit platter, and also test a blade. And there you have it. My orcish style dagger is done, hanging on the wall and ready for the zombie apocalypse. Thank you for watching, everyone, and see you in the next one.